Hello, I'm Coach Rice, and I just wanted to come on and let you know that on Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, here on my podcast, I just wanted to make sure that you know that I am live every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube, my personal Facebook page, my business Facebook page, and also on the Be Awesome Network. Here comes the live video of a new episode, and you won't regret it. So tune in.
Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice. It's a brand new week, the sun's shining bright. A chance to cast your net, step into the light. Life's full of challenges, it's a winding stream. But with Coach Rice, you'll find your dream.
Good morning and happy Monday to you. Thank you so much for joining Casting the Net Mondays with Coach Rice, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I have a special guest that I am excited to introduce to you guys because I've never heard of this type of coach. So I'm excited to delve into, things that he know. But his name is Scotty Gassner, and he is a personal coach and functional aging specialist. So I can't wait to hear about what he does. So, Scotty, tell us where you're from and how did you end up choosing this particular field?
So I am in Austin, Texas. I started off just being a personal trainer, just doing regular personal training, working at 24-hour fitness, those kinds of things. And I got a client that was 79 years old in the time he started with me.
Oh,
And
wow.
and so he passed away at 91, and I saw him all the way through the last like 11, 12 years of his life, right? And so I'm 50, or I'm going to be 50 this next year. My parents are in their 70s. And so it wasn't something I was necessarily looking to do. I was just we're surrounded by aging in the sense that we're all getting old, right? But I was just starting to be surrounded by it. And that's the clients that were gravitating towards me. So then I was like, well, I'm just going to lean into this. And so what I found is, obviously well-being as we get older isn't just what you do physically, it's what you do mentally. And then it's really like you have to have purpose, right? Like purpose for wanting to be here and
Right.
do this thing. And what I noticed, his name was Dave. What I noticed with Dave is as it went on, you've just been on the planet for so long, and
Yeah.
he lost purpose and reason for being here. And then once he lost that, like everything,
Mm,
went away. Cause, you always hear these stories about people that live to be like 104 and they like they go on a walk every day or they do, they're always super active into something. They have something they're into. They have some sort of thing that this is their passion or their purpose. And so what I do with
that's
my
true.
client, yeah, what I do with my clients is I try to educate them on their physical and mental health and how to take care of that and have that grow as you get older, and then encourage them to curate their meaning and purpose and keep that going so that you can live for like a really long time.
Oh, that's amazing. So your ideal client is what age group?
You would think it would be just kind of old people or old. I should say older people. My
Older.
clients don't like it when I call them old. They're more mature clients, right? But we're all aging. Like
Right.
I'm aging, you're aging, right? And so my youngest client has been like 13. I've worked with a 13-year-old. I've worked with Dave, he's 79, and I've had everybody in between. And I also kind of, just work on if I'm as you age, if I'm working on like your mental fortitude and stuff like that, it also
Okay.
allows me to work with like I have athletes that I work with and we work on their mental fortitude and all that kind of stuff. So the human experience is one we're all having. And so it doesn't put an age limit on my clients, but most people come to me are more mature or more aged just because when you're young, you're invincible, your body's bulletproof, you can do anything
Right.
you want, You could sleep for 2 hours and go party all day. I mean, it's, but as you get older, you really start to have to take care of yourself in these other ways to make sure you can go do all the things that you want to do.
So when you work with older people, and you obviously you're their personal trainer, am I correct?
So yeah, so like the physical part of what I do is kind of part of it. But
Okay.
what I realized is when I was just personal training and I wasn't working with anything else or studying anything else or doing anything else, I realized that that's only one component, right?
Right,
The,
right,
the physical training is only one component, and I was already as I was growing as a person, because I had a therapist, like a head therapist, and I still do, for over 20 years, and
right,
she's like my brain personal trainer. You know what I mean?
right. We
And
need
so
those, right?
when I started working on myself and started to see this thing, I was like, I'm already coaching other stuff. I just have this ability to do it in this environment that allows us to make your body feel better. And then while we're making your body feel better, we kind of just talk about stuff and we go through things and we talk about things that are going on and possibilities of things you can do and problems they're having. And usually when a client leaves here, no matter if we've done just like a little bit of physical stuff or we did a lot of physical stuff, they always go, man, I feel so much better. And when you do little physical work but you do heavy mental work, you're taking that load off your brain, and so your body does feel better. When you move your body physically, it does feel better, right? And so I don't know. I feel very blessed that I have this job because it's very easy for me. It's very natural. It's what I believe in. It's what I coach. So my clients that come to me are looking for something like very similar. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
for other
that's
people,
amazing.
yeah, the other people might want to be coached just, at a coffee shop. I've seen coaches that they do walking coaching sessions where they just go on walks and they talk while they coach. And this is just the way I coach, and I feel like that I give my clients, the triple hit of like their mental, physical, and metaphysical or purpose. And so they're getting more just in the physical workout. They're getting a lot more than just a mental workout. They're getting a really full functional how it all works together kind of workout. I say
I
workout,
like
but
I like talking about this because and because I'm older, I'm 58, and I often wonder when, especially when I see my siblings are so much older, but I often wonder, and I have to ask you this question: when you working with the ones that's like 70 on up, I'm sure the mental part is important and the movement is very important. And my question is like, what areas what is the most common thing you find mentally with that age group?
well, you know, once your mind and your body starts to be disconnected from you and disconnected from others, like I'll give the example, once you start losing your hearing, when you're in a conversation with other people, you feel very isolated because you can't really hear them. You don't want to ask them to repeat it, those kinds of things. So you start to feel isolated, right? And so then you go, well, like if you don't move well, you don't leave your house very much, maybe you don't leave your chair that you're sitting in, maybe you're not active and
Mm,
you get out into the world, then you start to be disconnected. And like, I see this with all my older clients, but I saw it all the way through with Dave. Like towards the end, I was his only connection left, kind of, and like he was so kind of over it because he was so disconnected from the world because he had lost his hearing, he couldn't see well, he didn't go any places anymore, he didn't have his activities anymore, like he would play bridge all the time, he stopped doing that. And so a big part of aging that we don't give enough credit is the connection we need with other human beings and keeping that going, and a lot of like exercise, going to group workout classes, you meet people there, or walking in the park, like getting out and being active helps that connectivity. when you read things, or you'll watch YouTube University, as I like to call it, or sometimes you feel more connected. But then when you actually go out and have conversations with people, even if they're really short, like getting a cup of coffee or at a gas station or something like that, those things, they just build up over time. They're little bit, but they're inputs into you, and they make such a big difference on you not feeling disconnected. Because once you feel isolated, a lot of the pandemic did that too.
Yes.
It isolated us. And so once we were isolated and disconnected, one, you get kind of stuck and gets hard to go back. And then two, how older people can be grumpy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Part of that grumpiness is the lack of practice of just interacting with people, and you just get more irritated because you don't have your practice anymore. It was kind of like we were talking about earlier, like talking to people on a podcast allows you to learn how to talk to people. And when you get
Right.
older and isolate, you don't talk to people a lot, and it has a big impact on you. And so isolation is really, I think, because if you can avoid isolation, you can avoid a lot of other problems, and I think that makes a big difference.
And I agree with you on that. You are absolutely correct. And you're right, the pandemic did a lot of that to young and older people, and we adapted, right?
I know
And
young people younger than me, that act like they're 80.
right.
Bec- because people have gotten frustrating, they haven't had enough practice talking to people, they haven't had enough interaction. And so, I mean, they're fast forwarding their lack of longevity already. You know what I mean? And look, everybody has days where they don't want to talk to people and they don't want to go do things or whatever. But I always encourage people that, like, the majority of the time, if you don't want to go do something, once you get there, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I came. I'm so glad I'm connecting with other people. And so to lean into that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, purpose is really huge. And so I really would love for you to share with the audience how important purpose is in your life.
Purpose is the reason why you're here, right?
Hmm.
I have a favorite book. I quote it all the time, and I'll probably butcher the quote, but the book is by Viktor Frankl. The name of the book is Man's Search for Meaning. And he has a quote in there where he says, living is suffering. Wait, no, to live is to suffer, and living is finding meaning in the suffering, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so,
I like Viktor Frankl.
yeah, so finding your purpose and your meaning is crucial to everything that you do. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of the silent leader. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
my life made a huge change when I found my purpose inside of doing this. You know what I mean? I found something that I really love to do that comes really natural to me. And it just feels like me. And it's taken a long time to build this up, like high school, college, working as a personal trainer for so long. But to get to jump into this role and have purpose, I wake up every day. I love my job. I love my clients. I'm so grateful for everything. And that's because to me, that's because I found purpose. So, you know, if you're struggling, I think a good place to even start is to go, like, what do I want to do here? What do I want my purpose to be? What do I want to be my legacy to be? How do I want to repay the rent on earth that I'm here to everyone that's around me? And when, just go volunteer. I mean, I don't know about you, but it feels magical when you volunteer and you give your time to
Yes, it
somebody else.
does. Yes, it does. When you serving others, it is the most amazing feeling ever. I think it just keeps you alive.
Yeah, and so it's serving is one of my main tenets in what I do, right? But serving can also make you feel like you have purpose, at least, like, temporarily, like,
Yes.
hey, I have value here helping someone else that has less than me.
Yeah, when I found my purpose, it just changed my whole life.
That's right.
It
That's
really
right.
did. It changed my whole life. And I can see how I love how you brought up isolation point with the elderly, because they start to feel like they don't have a sense of purpose. They feel like somebody threw them away, and they just sit there, and sometimes they don't have any meaning, and they get frustrated. And then the changes your body is making, right, play a huge role in your mental state as well. So they dealing with all of these things, and it's so sad that no, they don't have any connections.
What
And so,
you think about in like Asia and in like Spanish homes and stuff like that. A lot of times when the parents get elderly, they just move in with the kids, right?
right.
And we don't do that here in the United States. When our parents get old, we just ship them off to like old folks' homes, or we just leave them at their house. You know what I mean?
I know
And
it's so sad.
yeah, and I think that's a really easy example to show how connection not only impacts an older person when living in a multi-generational home, but very young people. Like I make a real big effort to take my daughter, she's 4, to take her to see my parents and see my partner's parents, and so that she has a relationship with them and they have a relationship with her, and there's something there that's magical that we lose because we don't kind of do it like it's been traditionally done in other places, right? And so I think that that's just so, it's all so important.
It
Like,
is.
there's
It's so you're right. It is something magical about just connecting with your grandchildren.
oh
And
yeah,
they're so young, it's bringing that youth back to you, and having that having that playtime and permission to play as an adult. And because that's what I'm able to do with my grandkids. And it's
right.
it's so amazing when I'm with them how young I feel and vibrant just in that moment of being with them. It's so cool.
I think my daughter stretches my mom in a good way. Does that make
Right,
sense?
right, right. They stretch me in a good way too.
That's funny.
They really do. So I know what you mean. But that's awesome that you do this. So what is your onboarding process
For like clients and
for
stuff like that.
clients? Mhm.
So, because I do something kind of unique and it's a different thing, I always ask them kind of like, "Hey, what are you looking for? How do you want this to shape out? What are your long-term goals?" And I have a whole questionnaire that they fill out. And I usually just start with like, just like physical stuff. You know what I mean? Because here's the other thing about like just working out, just in general.
Mhm.
Working out in general will make other things and other emotions come to the surface. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so, like, I don't know about, like, but if someone's ever been sad and they go to do a workout and maybe they cry in the middle of their workout, well, you've elevated the rest of your body. And so everything's just turned up a little bit, right? And so, usually, if I can get somebody moving physically and we start kind of talking about things, I can get into, as an example, if say someone's like really overweight, 9 times out of 10, they're not overweight because they don't know what to do or not they can't do it. It's just for some reason they're choosing not to. They have a block, a mental block around
Right,
that,
right.
right?
Mhm.
And so I realized that a long time ago. And so a lot of what I'm doing with my clients mentally is trying to remove blocks, right? So when we sign up, we do an initial evaluation session. I have this thing called the Wheel of Life, and we go through different aspects of your life. You see what you want to work on first. This is very basic coaching stuff, but then
Right.
I get them into my environment, and we start really picking on what is weak in your physical body, what is weak in your mental fortitude, and then what is weak about the plan of purpose that you have, right? Because ultimately, my goal is to help you seal up all those holes in your part of your life that aren't going the way you want them to. You know what I mean? That's how I do my job the best, is helping someone
Right.
figure out what they need to be the best version of themselves. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I have a podcast. It's called Just Be with Scotty G.
Okay.
And the last question I always ask everyone is, what do you do to be the best version of yourself so you can be good for everybody else, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people create the best version of themselves so they can go out in the world and have good experiences, good interactions with other people, because really every interaction, everything you do is how you show up and respond, always. And so
Always.
if you are best prepared to show up and respond, then you are best prepared to tackle anything that comes along, flat tires, bonuses, raises at work, anything that comes along, you're ready for it because you prepared. And that's what I try to coach to my clients.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I do the same thing. I do the Wheel of
Yeah,
Life the same way because I
yeah.
find that if you got a deficit in one area, it's going to ultimately affect other areas of your life.
100%, 100%.
So yeah, I like that. So, what do you got going on? And like any new things you got going on? Any books or anything like that coming up?
So It's funny that you should ask. I have two podcasts. This is my own personal podcast, Just Be with Scotty
Okay.
G. And then I do this other podcast that's called Mixtape Therapy. And I do it with the therapist. And basically, what we do is we take all forms of media, so like music and movies and poems and everything, and we share them with each other. And then we have like a mixtape kind of conversation about how it impacted us and what we thought in a therapeutic type of way, right?
Oh.
So me and Hannah, which is my co-host, we're working on a book right now. So and it's a relationship book on like how to have a better relationship. And if everything goes to plan, we're planning this small like seminar tour. And we're going to do a seminar and kind of act, not want to say act out, but just talk about the book and the different situations and how to handle relationships. She's a relationship therapist, so she's my expert, and I'm
I
just
got
nerdy
you.
about relationships. So, anyways, so yeah, so like it's really cool. I'm really excited because I never thought I'd be a person to write a book. I never thought I'd be a person to like put on a seminar or do a show like that. I never thought I would do any of these things. But again, like once you find purpose, the sky's the
The
limit.
sky is the limit.
You don't look at it like that anymore. And I remember being I've been divorced. I got married and been divorced, and my divorce was the hardest thing I've gone through to this point in my life, right? And I remember being so low and thinking, this will never change. I can never change. This will never be different, whatever. And then having this next thought of like, okay, well, if everything's just not going to, you can do whatever you want then. Like, and not do whatever you want, like hurt other people, but like you're
Right.
at the very ground level. You can
All you
choose how
can do
you,
is come up, right?
all you can do is come up, right? And so, in choosing that, I started to realize, oh, I don't have control of much, but I do have control of a lot more than I thought. And when I took a hold of those things, my whole life changed. And so, part of that is what got me to here to want to do this for other people because I remember what it's like to feel like that nothing will change. And so now that everything's changed for me, and now I'm like thinking about we're working on writing this book, and we're gonna do this. I'm like, well, man, like I could do anything. It's just, I mean,
Right. I'm
and so I try.
excited for you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that because I'm probably, if I had to guess, I'm probably dyslexic. Like I have a lot of problems reading, so I do a lot of audiobooks.
Right.
So for me to write a book also is like a big deal because it's not necessarily my wheelhouse.
It's funny because you will find that a lot of people with dyslexia that struggle with dyslexia write books a lot. I mean,
Really?
you find that you find people that because they can't, that it doesn't hinder them from writing, but it does. It may it don't hinder them from writing, but they do have a hard time reading books.
Well, you can guarantee that if I finish this book like I say I am, there will be an audio book for people like me. And I'm gonna do the talking on it. Me and Hannah are gonna do the audio book. I hate it when other people don't do their own. I want to hear their voice. So you
Me
get
too.
stuck with
I
this.
know what you mean. I love hearing the voice of the author.
Yeah.
I love hearing the voice of the author. Yeah, that is pretty cool. That's really awesome. I love it. So we'll definitely put all your links in so people can see your both of your podcasts, and
Awesome.
definitely let us know when the book is ready and all of that, because that's going to be nice. Relationships, that's my specialty too. So I know what you mean. I'm a relationship geek too. So
Well, I think what made me a relationship geek is that like all my relationships were going so poor,
right,
right? And so then you realize, oh, I'm the common denominator in all this, right?
right,
So I'm looking for the problem, but I am the problem, right?
right.
But
Hmm.
but then I was like, okay, I got to solve myself. And once I started solving myself, everything made more sense. And so I can see and feel how relationships can be so difficult, but a lot of solving relationships, I guess you would agree, is solving yourself. Like a lot of what you saw
Oh
about
yeah,
yourself.
that's it. Always starts with self. It
Mhm.
always starts with relationship with self, and that's what I teach my clients, especially when they're single or they're getting out of a marriage, because you got to find out, number one, who you are, what happened, what areas you can improve. All we don't delve into that. We go to the next relationship, pick the same person that you pick, the same characteristics, and wonder why it didn't work again. And so
100%.
yeah, and so people, it does, relationships start with self. But I love how that you decided to take on that the age group of the older generation, because no one is left out. No one can say that they're too old to do something. Movement is powerful when you're older. Get the bones moving, get the muscles moving, build muscle so that you won't fall and break anything, right? Because most people really, once they fall, they go downhill
And
if they're
then
not
again,
working out.
isolation, right? Like, you know,
Yes.
you if you can't move, that means that everybody wants to see you has to come to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness gracious.
We've already discussed like how people really don't want to do that and all that
They
kind of
don't
stuff.
want to do
So
that.
you know, like my goal for me, again, I'm gonna be 50, is like I want to feel like this for the rest of my life. That's my goal. Is that like what if I could be like this when I'm 80? You know what I mean? How awesome
Yes.
would that be? You know what I mean? So I'm trying to build and maintain, but like just keep myself in this really good space because I just know as my body parts start to fall apart, it's going to get more difficult. And so I'm just kind of just prepping my body and being ready for what comes next. You know, again, it's response, right? How you respond.
Yes. Mhm. And it's so key to take care of ourselves so we can show up better for others as well.
100%.
Yeah. So the audience, I like to give them at least one piece of advice. So what would that be for the audience? If you wanted to get in one, you got plenty of advice, but if you wanted to get in one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, man. Um, you know, uh, this isn't like this isn't like aging. I guess it kind of is. You know, as we as we get old, when we're young, we don't understand old people. And as we get older, we don't understand young people, right? Because
Right.
we get disconnected, right?
Right. Hmm.
And something I really like to say, and I say it all the time, is space and grace, man. Like, you know, give people a little space, give them a little bit of grace. And I think in talking about aging and how important it is not to be isolated, right? If you're a young person, you should want to like interact with old people because they have a lot to give and there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom and entertainment and there's so much there. But if you're an old person, don't get frustrated with young people and be like, oh, they all have purple hair and I don't want to talk to, you know, there's so much to learn and grow there and that kind of community sense of like, you know, that we're all humans, right? And we all need this.
Yes.
So you know, what I would say is that when you find yourself wanting to isolate or you come to the awareness or recognize that you're isolating, that is a time that you need to go try to go out in the world, interact, call your kids, call your friend, try to set up a coffee, meet up with them. And then when you get out there and things start frustrating you because you really haven't been doing that, you know, give yourself and give all those other people space and grace, right? Just allow yourself to get
Yes.
back in the rhythm of life and understand this doesn't always work out perfectly, but it's so important to just connect and stay connected. You know what I mean? And so I guess, you know, the one piece of advice would be like stay connected because it's just so
Yes.
important. It's so important for everyone. Like, you know, it's so important for everyone. So
That I love that. I love how and you're right, there is a disconnect with age, with the younger and the older generation, but we can both learn from each other. And we can definitely learn. We can learn technology from the younger people. You know, that's what I do. I learn all my technology from younger people, and then but it's funny how older people they really desire to give you all of what they have. It's like this end of life type of like, I have to give you this. I don't want it to go to waste. It's that
well,
urgency, right?
well, you know, as you get older, you just realize, like, I don't know, me, like how much time I wasted and what I could have done differently. And you look at people and you go, I don't want you to do this. But the unfortunate
Right.
part about it, we all have to do it our own way. My daughter's
Right.
4. She's stubborn. She wants to learn her way. And I'm like, cool, learn it your way. That's fine. As long as you're not going to hurt you or anybody else, I'm all down for you learning, but like we're kind of built like that we have to learn on our own. So, you know, as being a younger person and, you know, and surrounding myself with older people and they're always giving advice, I always listen. I always say thank you. I might not use 80% of it, right? But that
Right.
20% is so valuable, you know? And then as an older person, understand that younger people don't want to hear all your stuff all the time. So maybe just tell them little bits here and there. You know
Right.
what I
They
mean?
don't want to work. They don't want you to word vomit on them. Right.
Yeah, but that comes back to awareness of yourself and who you are and like
Yes.
all the things we kind of talked about, right? So like when you really show up for yourself, when you show up for yourself and then you bring that out in the world, you're going to have great relationships, great interactions. I mean, you know, it's the energy you put out. You know, we read all the books and they say all the same things, but it really is how you show up and the energy you put out is it's really what you get back, you know?
That's so true. So tell the audience how they can reach you.
So if you want to know anything that I do, you can just go to www.heyjustbe.com. That's HEY, justbe.com. And everything I do is there. My podcast, my coaching, you can sign up there to get coached. You can link to the podcast there. The store to my swag is there. Anything and everything I do is
Oh.
on that website.
Well, Scotty, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on this podcast. Thank you for, talking about that. Thank you for what you do, actually, and the passion that you have behind it. You can see it. You can see your energy behind it. You can see your love behind it. And so just keep doing what you're doing and continue to help others like you've been doing, because it's so much going on in the world. People need people like us to help them. So it's so great that you're serving at the capacity that you are serving. So thank you so much for that. And
Thank you.
thank you for being here on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I tell people this all the time. I don't get to go on podcasts all the time. I'm always recording my own. So I'm so grateful and so thankful that you had me come on. This has been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So wonderful meeting you and dialoguing with you. And to my audience, if you definitely feel that this was helpful, please do share. If you know someone who's feeling isolated, please share so they can reach out to Scotty, because he's there to help them and help them with their mindset, their movement, and he's passionate about it. So allow yourself to be helped. And if you feel like this is helpful, please share with others and subscribe, because I always have amazing people around. I will put all the links to the podcast and everything that he has on, so that you can reach out to him. And he'll be accessible that way. So just thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Monday. And we care about your mental health and your well-being. So thank you for listening. We are signing off.
We'll heal every heart. So join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice.